When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grow up? A doctor, maybe a firefighter or a teacher? I bet not one of you ever wanted to be a prostitute. I have never met a child who said they wanted to be a prostitute when they grew up. The legalization of prostitute would have future implications for our children, boys and girls, that are beyond the realm of comprehension for the most of us. My name is Dina Roberts, and I have spent several years going into the brothels of Germany, talking to women who've been trafficked. But because prostitution is legal, they fall under this umbrella of legally working prostitutes. I currently train volunteers who desire to go into the brothels to help those women who wish to escape the line of work. I've also written a book called Jesus in a Brothel, and it's about my experience ministering to sex workers in the German brothels. And today I'm going to talk to you about the negative effects of prostitution legalization that includes normalizing the acts of the violent sexual acts and the increased demand. Therefore, I propose the criminalization of purchasing sex that's going after the demand or the buyer, and the education of businesses, families, and students of all ages, young and old. Nothing good comes from prostitution, not for the buyer, and definitely not for those who are being sold. The legalization of prostitution increases demand for our underage girls and boys, and it provides that same umbrella in Germany of legality for pimps to claim that with the girls it's consensual prostitution, when in fact most of them have been exploited or trafficked. According to UNICEF, USA.org, quote, human trafficking is fueled by the economic principles of supply and demand. Simply put, human trafficking is the one and only industry in which the supply and demand are the same thing. Human beings, people demanding the sale of people. This is modern day slavery, you guys. The majority of prostitutes have fallen prey to their circumstances, whether it be finances or whether it be an abusive home. It's beyond their control, and it paves the path to their exploitation. Without demand, which the largest demand, by the way, is white American males, there's no product to sell. So what is the problem? According to the 39th President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, normalizing the act of buying sex also debases men by assuming that they're entitled to access women's bodies for sexual gratification. If paying for sex is normalized, then every young boy will learn that women and girls are commodities to be bought and sold. Now, a huge source of contribution to this problem, you guessed it, it's pornography. It devalues consensual sex acts, and it desensitizes our young boys and our young girls to humiliating, inhumane, and right down violent sexual acts. This desensitization, however you want to say it, but that process only serves to heighten the threshold of sexual expectation, sexual satisfaction, and once again, sexual demand. And another contributing factor is the sexual abuse of our children. Sadly enough, it's by the adults in their lives. And many who are so-called chose the life of prostitution, they were repeatedly sexually abused as children and groomed into that life. They don't know anything different. Again, I have never met a child who wants to grow up to be a prostitute or a pimp for that matter. Never. Have you? So I ask, did they choose this way of life, or was it chosen for them? So now that I've shared with you how pornography and sexual abuse of our children leads our young into prostitution, let's talk about what can be done about it. The criminalization of purchasing sex, that's the demand, the buyer, and public education is the key to helping our children to not fall prey to those that want to pull them in and draw them into prostitution, and they're out there. People who sell people they want to, they desire to exploit the vulnerabilities of our young in our community, the young and the weak. especially those who are economically challenged. Now, according to the U.S. Department of State, we are encouraged to educate our community, the young and the old, on how our children are targeted and to recognize the recruitment tactics that these lover boys and pimps that they use. We also want to educate our community, our parents, our schools, our medical facilities. We want everybody to recognize the signs of sexual abuse and sex trafficking, as well as teaching our children how to reach out for us to help and to get them out of uncomfortable situations. We also have to educate the public of the negative effects of pornography on our young men and women. It seriously devalues consensual sex, and it definitely increases the demand to fulfill their perverted fantasies. The increase in demand leads to the sex trafficking of our kids. Without the demand, there's no need for the supply. So today I have shared with you the negative effects of prostitution, from demand to normalizing violent sex acts through pornography. I've also shared with you how the repetitive sexual abuse and vulnerability of economic challenges puts a child at high risk for sexual exploitation. There's also an insurmountable need for public education. It really needs to get out there, and for the decrease in demand by that criminalization of the purchase of sex. Again, I ask, what did you dream of being when you grew up? Now, for the prostitute and the pimp, what do you think happened between their childhood dream and their current line of work? I promise you it was nothing good. So what we need is for good people like you to take action. Educate yourself, educate your family, your children, the community. If you think a child's being sexually abused, don't stand by and do nothing, sit on your hands. Call law enforcement, call 911. Don't worry about hurting somebody's feeling and being wrong. And if you suspect or you think somebody's being sexually abused, call the 24-hour national hotline, the human trafficking hotline. Put it in your phones, pull it out. I'll tell you what it is right now. It's easy to remember if you don't have your phone, but it's 1-888-3737-888. Again, it's 1-888-373-7888. Thank you for your time, and please take the time to know the signs. If you see something, say something. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.